Happy Monday! It's Tiffany here, and this week we continue with the series of 3 words to my teenage self. My next guest today shares her story about the importance of using your voice. This phenomenal woman serves as a patient navigator to individuals with sickle cell anemia. However, not only is she an advocate for sickle cell anemia, she also lives it in her day-to-day life, having the disease herself. Nevertheless, she doesn't let sickle cell stop her from using her voice to increase medical support for those who deal with the disease in their lives. Rising Queens, please welcome Sharee Turpin.
Hey girl, hey.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, sis. How are you?
I'm good. First and foremost, let me say thank you so much for coming on my podcast and volunteering to be a guest and to be on this episode.
Thank you. I just have to say I'm proud of you for finding this space, using this space. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome, girl. And I'm also proud of you as well.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just get into it.
Okay.
So what are your 3 words to your teenage self?
True. It would be find your voice.
Find your voice. Yeah, definitely. You and I can both agree with that.
We were quiet as church mice, as they would say. But man, we had things to say back then, and I don't think they ever got said. They were never spoken. And just looking back, we had wisdom back then, and I think we were just afraid of the status quo.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I agree with that. I mean, like you said, me myself too. Back then, I was always, we were both known as the quiet girls in school, especially me. Like, I never had anything to say, even though I did.
Right.
But, at the time, the words would just never come to my mind. And even, in certain situations, when people try to get wrong with you, you at that time, you can't have that right clap back. So you just kind of stuck there like, no, dang, I don't have nothing to say because she said that. But then afterwards,
everything
I should have said this, that, this.
Yeah.
And, especially when you're around people who they know how to use their voice very well. They have no problem saying what they need to say and get it off their mind. And sometimes, I would sit there and be like, man, I wish I could be more like that person, just be straightforward and just say what I need to say and have to say. But the thing is, we can. Right. It just takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Sharee, like, in what ways, like, back then and now, like, have you noticed a difference in yourself being able to use your voice now than ever?
Heck, yes. So the reason I chose Find Your Voice is because obviously, we didn't stand up for ourselves. We didn't stand up for others. Just never expressed ourselves in general. But I speak as a person who deals with, a chronic illness. For those of you who don't know me, I have sickle cell disease. So you deal a lot with that. And one thing that I have had to learn is how to advocate for myself. Yeah. So over the years, I've been put in these situations where if I don't speak up, I could die.
Right.
So that is a big part of why I say find your voice. Not just to advocate, but to educate, to stand for justice. And, now I'm in a space I never thought I'd be in. I speak for people who have the same illness and some don't, but I just know in the healthcare world, there's a lot of lonely people.
Yeah.
In the healthcare world, you are at your most vulnerable time.
Yeah.
And you depend on these people. And unfortunately, not all the time. Right. You'll have people taking care of you that will care.
Yeah.
So, looking back, now you can't keep me to shut up.
Right.
I love words. As a fellow journalist, as you are, I love words, and it took me a while to find that true meaning that words do have power.
Yes.
A simple smile, a simple hello can turn away wrath. That's even in the Bible. So, finding your voice, just understanding that you have purpose. I want everyone to realize that. I want everyone to find that out. And it's a journey.
Yes.
At a time, I did not realize I had purpose. I didn't think I had purpose because of dealing with this, amongst other things. But the more I speak, it's like people want to hear.
Oh yeah.
And I will tell you this story of when I was 17 years old. I was in ED. And I just felt so ignored, so ignored by my nurses, my doctors. I was in excruciating pain, and I remember being on a stretcher, and I'm trying to tell them what works for me. You can't do this, you have to do this. No one listened to me. And I remember grabbing hold of the rail in pain, and I'm saying, one day they will listen to me.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now. I took that very seriously when I said that one day they would listen to me.
Yeah.
Who the they was, I wasn't sure at the time, but fast forward to now, I've been invited to speak at the National Institute of Health because they want to hear my story of living with sickle cell and the pain that not I just deal with, but that we deal with as a community. Yeah. So I definitely found my voice, and now I am using it.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
That's an amazing story. And honestly, you said something that is just now today, like in this day and age, is so important. When it comes to using your voice, especially when it comes to the medical field, the medical industry, and the hospitals, and it's really, really important to use your voice during that time, because even though, you do have some providers and nurses and doctors that do care, but then there are some of those, they don't care, and they don't care to hear your voice. They don't care to hear your thoughts or how you're really feeling, and they just truly ignore that and don't consider what works for you or works for anyone else. So that is a very important topic. And again, I am proud of you that you are now being the voice to come speak at NIH, and that is awesome. That's amazing. In my first and foremost, let me say this, that for me personally, as someone who struggled so long to try to find my own voice, and we're trying to figure out what are the right words to use, because that's always my biggest thing. Like, what if I say it like this, or what if I say it like that, and it comes out wrong, but I know what I'm trying to say, but I just don't know how to put it out there. And that's always been the struggle for me, and especially for someone even in the classroom. I never really said anything, but I didn't really start using my voice a lot until after, not after, but during the time of being in graduate school, raising my hand more, talking more in class, saying my own thoughts or my own opinions about things that I learned in class. And not only that, but, going into the social work field, where I definitely saw so many things, and which I had, that sometimes I had no choice but to be an advocate for a lot of the students that I've worked with. And, even though I was nervous and I was scared to do it, but I still did it because of how much I really cared for the students that I worked with. And, going back to, because this is for Rising Queens, for young ladies. And, during my career, working in schools and working with students, working with young girls, really also, You know how teenage girls are, and they got that. I don't know if I want to call it fire or spark, whatever it is, but I mean, and I don't know if you know this too, but I feel like today a lot more young ladies are just much more vocal than we were.
Yes.
And I see that and I notice that, and it's like, to be honest with you, I love it. I love that they're so vocal. I love that they have no problem letting people know, you know, hey, if they don't like this or if they like that. Sometimes it can come out in a way where it can get them in trouble. Other times, you know, they say it the right way. But then I know that there are still those girls that's like, again, like you and I, we're trying to find their voice and how to say it. And so, you know, I mean, how would you, well, let's start with the girls that feel like they have no voice or struggling to find their voice. Like, what advice would you give to those girls?
I would say, if you can't say it now, get it out somehow. If that be journaling, if that be talking to yourself in the mirror, getting your thoughts out somehow. Like, get those words out of your head, because if they stay there, you'll either lose it or it'll drive you crazy. Okay. So I would just start there. Yeah. And I would also say, I don't like the term YOLO, right. But I do say, don't have any regrets. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I do regret, because I could have saved a life. I could have prevented a situation from happening that I didn't like. Like, there's so many things I look back on, and it all started with not speaking up. Yeah. So definitely find a way to express yourself, and just continue to know that you may not say it now, but one day there'll be a time where you'll be able to have that confidence and be able to express yourself verbally.
That is the truth. I agree with that. I do, especially, you know, from someone, so I mean, for both of us, you know what I mean? But, you know, especially like someone for me, like, because even if I didn't know what to say, I was always that person writing it out. And I mean, we're both creative people, so we just, you know what I mean?
We're created with purpose. Like, we're created with a vision in mind. Right. So it may not be words. It may not be a journal. Right. It could be art. Right. It could be dance. It could be music. It could be, you know, actively involved in a sport. Like, just because you may not have the words to say it, you still have those thoughts. Thoughts turn into words. Yeah. So, going back to what you just said, being creative about it.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like you said, hopefully, and then one day, not hopefully, but because it will happen for them, but finding a way to use their voice, even if it is in a creative way. Yeah. You know, eventually, I believe that everyone finds their voice somewhere, wherever it is wherever it is, but I know that they'll find their voice in that certain place. So what about for the girls? Like, they got the voice. Some of them is loud and clear. But the problem is how they say it.
Gotcha.
Now, what advice do you have for those girls?
I would say you clearly have the confidence. I would say learn the value of your words, because even though you say them, they not always, your words won't always land right where they have meaning. Some people can just talk to hear themselves. Yeah. So definitely learn the value of your words. Yeah. But also ask yourself what's happening within, because, and I speak as someone who used to live life on the defense. So I was just ready. Like I have my boxing gloves on every day because of being that shy person. I just never knew if someone was going to take my kindness for weakness.
Right.
And unfortunately, I eventually started using the words. Then they weren't always so nice either. So, yeah, definitely look within and understand, are your words are they being used to hurt? Are they being used to educate? Are they being used to express, defend? That's what I would say. Is just make sure your words have value. You have the action right. You know how to use your voice and your words. Just make sure they have value.
Exactly, I agree with that, and also the intent on the word. A big one. You know, what's your intent? Because before you speak, because I know there are people that just speak and just say it and don't really think about the words first. But if you think like, okay, I have something to say, but what is the purpose? What is the reason? What's the intention of me saying this thing? Yeah. And the intent of the words that I'm going to use towards this person. Because like you said, am I using my words to hurt people? Am I using my words to discourage? Am I using my words in any negative way where it's not going to be beneficial for both parties? And if that's the case, then I need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to say this thing, but say it in a way where it's not going to come off as harsh or offensive. Because, and again, let me say, I stand by this, okay, because this is Bible too. Life and death is in the power of the tongue.
You got it.
Okay?
You got it. If
you are speaking harsh words, you speaking death. You speaking words of love, words of warmth, love of words of care. I'm sorry, words of care. That's speaking with life. And so, again, like I said, I love that a lot of young ladies are being more vocal with their voice. But at the same time, I feel like there's a certain way to do it where it doesn't come off as harsh. Yeah. And also another thing I have to start about this too. I know, again, this is a podcast for all teenage girls, but I just want to cut to this because I know for women like you and me, being African-American women, because sometimes our voices, you know, when we talk, you already know. And so even for the majority of the young girls that I have worked with are African-American. And like I said, sometimes the words that they say gets them in trouble because, they're going to add a few cuss words in there. They're going
the delivery,
the attitude, all of that. And so, and it's not to, because I mean, this is, again, another conversation, like how you say things. And, you know, some may feel like, oh, we have to say things in a certain way to restrict our true selves, but it's not restricting your true self. You can always be your true self, but that delivery and how you do it has to be done a certain way. Like I feel like if the delivery is presented in a certain way, then, and I might be wrong when I say this though, but I just kind of feel like first of all, you're not constricting yourself, but you're also showing respect for yourself and for the other person or other parties involved. And no one is being harmed in any way. You know,
you can always find a way.
Yeah.
To say, I don't like the way you did that, or hey, that hurts when you speak to me like that. Like, you can always find a way to get the same message across, just using different language.
Right. Definitely. I agree with that. So yeah. Find your voice within you and use it properly. And again, like if your voice is not there now, it'll be there one day, because I mean, again, even for us, we may have not had it then, but we have it now in in other ways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. That's all.
What we got.
That's what we got.
That's what we got.
And again, so Sharee, again, thank you for your 3 words. Those were powerful, amazing words. And I really hope that these words really resonated with you, Rising Queens. I hope that you, Rising Queens, not only listened to this conversation, but that you've also learned something from this conversation, that you have took some wonderful gems away from this conversation so that you all are able to apply them to yourselves and in your own personal teenage journey. All right. And so again, Sharee, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And again, I'm just proud of you and everything that you do, and just keep using your voice.
Likewise. Thank you. And keep having people on here to use theirs.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Always. I don't be the only one using my voice. I'm gonna give other people a chance on here too.
Yeah.
Because I feel like people have so much to bring and so much to say, and there's so many different conversations all around that are not being said out and upfront. And I feel like it's just time for people, especially young people, to hear what the conversations are, what's being said, and how does that affect them.
I appreciate you, Rising Queens, for taking the time out to listen to this episode. As always, I hope that you young ladies learned some very valuable lessons. Like, share, and comment your thoughts on this episode. Follow me on Instagram at Precious_Gems Podcast, Facebook at Precious Gems for the Rising Queen Podcast, TikTok and Snapchat at Precious Gems. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Precious Gems Podcast. Until next time, Rising Queens, Talitha Kumi.